If I had to start over, these are the ones I would pick up first. And I've done this type of video before, and I always find it to be really fun. You know, this is the type of video that I get excited about doing because, one, it's challenging, right? It's really hard for me to come down here and look at everything that I have and decide what I would purchase first if all of this was taken from me or you know, destroyed or whatever, and I had to start over. It's hard to make those decisions, you know, because there's just so many options and things that I even forget about. It's also fun because the video could go a couple different ways, you know, and so it could go in the way that I would feel pretty inclined to track down some of my most beloved discontinued or hard to find scents, whether that's stuff like Creed Green Valley, which is exceptionally rare, and somehow I got lucky enough to grab a couple bottles of that over the years, or something like Killian Straight to Heaven Oud and Musk Special Blend, or the extreme version, or even some designers like Gucci Envy and some other things like that. I love discontinued fragrances. For me, it's fun to kind of hunt for them and to, you know, even wear them and enjoy them because oftentimes they are so different and unique. So that would make for a particularly fun video, I feel like, because, you know, I'll be listing off a bunch of stuff that you can't go out and purchase. So instead, I'm going more in the direction of things that you can still buy today that I would be able to purchase again easily. You know, they're not hard to find, and they're still just must-owns for me. And so make no mistake, yeah, there are fragrances out there that are hard to find, that are rare, that are super expensive, that I would still just be, you know, chomping at the bit to have them again, but I'm just not going to feature those. And the ones I listed off is a good starting point, and that would be a very big financial burden if I had to buy all that stuff again. But I digress. We're going to go through this one. I think I picked 9 off the shelf here. Again, it's hard to narrow it down to a low number. This was still very challenging. I could have put in more, but that's kind of the sweet spot. And I would start off with Killian Straight to Heaven. So I just kind of dropped Oud and Musk Special Blend, or the Extreme, because I was holding this and it came to mind. And I do have both of those kind of special edition versions. This is one of my favorite all-time niche scents, especially on the boozy side of things. It's one of the best boozy scents that I have ever smelled. This is a 10 out of 10, complete masterpiece. There is something truly special about Straight to Heaven. If you have not tried this one yet, I strongly consider it. So it has some dried fruits in here, I believe, some patchouli, a lot of cedar wood, and of course that rum booziness. There is just kind of a mysterious smokiness about this one. There is not too much of an overbearing sweetness that you might get from a lot of other boozy scents that might kind of steer you away from them. The woods and the patchouli give this a ton of support and backbone and a masculine structure that other boozy, sweeter scents lack. And I could just go on and keep saying it over and over how much I love this one, but that wouldn't be a whole lot of fun. But I really do think this is amazing. And being that we're kind of moving into that time of year, I would for sure be grabbing a bottle of this one first. You can get it at discounters usually, but I've paid full retail for these many times and would do it again without thinking twice. This next one, another no-brainer for me, kind of heading into the cooler time of the year, Dior Homme Intense. And again, this goes in a couple ways. I would for sure be grabbing some more Dior Homme Parfum. That's just a given, right? But because of the nature of that, I'll just feature, you know, its younger brother here, which is older, but it's younger in the sense of it doesn't smell quite as rich and extreme as the Parfum. I'll feature this instead just because, you know, you can get it easier. I love this stuff. A little bit chocolatey, sweet from the iris, the cacao in here, and the lavender is providing just a little bit of a freshness, but not a ton. It does kind of have a lipsticky feel or a makeup bag feel, or however you would like to refer to it, from the type of iris that's being used here. However, for me, that's what makes this one so interesting and fun to wear. And it's just one I can't be without. I love this stuff, and I love wearing it in the fall and winter time. It works great for that time of year. Dior Homme Intense is a must-have for me. Jumping over to another niche product here, I would have to get some Leighton, you know, and I could go for a clone. I would be perfectly happy with doing so. If I was just getting back on my feet and having to start completely over, I would probably pick up Detour Noir or Amber Oud Exclusive Blue, or, you know, something along those lines. and that would get me by for a long time. Of course, at some point I would feel as though I need to grab the real deal just for collection purposes. And of course, having a channel, right, that doesn't go away if I had to start over. And so there's so many little outsider things that you can kind of factor in as to why this video will be so interesting. But having the experience of all the different things I've smelled now, I would for sure be gravitating towards some latent as soon as I could. I love this DNA. It's you know, a much more wearable niche type of scent than a lot of others out there, and that's why PDM in general gets hated on, because they are at a premium and maybe they're not as challenging as some others. But for me, that's what I like about this DNA. The apple, the cinnamon, the vanilla, the lavender, the tonka bean, it comes together really well. It's a great combination, and what I like about this that's very interesting and that you can pick up on as well is that weird type of mintiness, kind of menthol smell that you more so feel in your nose and also smell, of course, as well. That comes from this one. That's very interesting. I just find this one to be very pleasing. Layton has great performance as well. You know, again, the price tag is what holds this one back, as is with a lot of niche. And with this one, it's getting harder and harder to get below retail. So you got to do what you got to do. The clones are a great option as well, but I would definitely have something that smells like this in my collection to start off with. And I would also for sure be grabbing Dolce & Gabbana the One Eau de Parfum. This is kind of the roots of my collection here. Not this bottle, but my empty one that I often showcase. I figured I might as well hold up a bottle that actually has some liquid in it so you can see what it's designed to look like, because this is the type of bottle where a lot of the design and character comes from the level of the liquid inside. And so when it's empty, you don't really get that effect. But really is a classy looking bottle. I love it. Timeless, and the scent is the same way. It's all about the tobacco and the amber here. Another 10 out of 10. Another masterpiece. I would not change a single thing about this one. I will recommend this one until it completely goes away, which hopefully will be never, but you never know. It's one of the best date night scents for men ever created, or just one of the best evening hanging out around the house relaxation scents. That's primarily what I use it for. Spray it on in the evening after a shower all the time. It's just one of my favorite things to do, and one of my favorite scents to wear in the evening, even just at home. I love this stuff, no doubt about it, and for sure would be grabbing a bottle online as soon as I could. And being that I would theoretically be starting over now, I can feature some new releases as well. You know, having the knowledge that I have and smelling all the new releases and then everything getting wiped out and me having to start over, there's a few that I would gravitate towards that are brand new releases, one of which being Y Eau de Parfum Intense. For whatever reason, I have been obsessed with this one, and I don't know why, because of course I have all of the others and I've worn all of the others pretty frequently, especially the EDP and even the Le Parfum. Both of those I've worn pretty heavily throughout the warmer times of the year. And so what's the deal with this one? It's simply that they take away all the sweet apple, and what they're doing is they're focusing more on the aromatics, the geranium, the sage, and that sort of thing. You still get the Y DNA in here. It's just less sweet and less cloying. And for whatever reason, it has just been something I have been loving. And it's almost like maybe this is what I needed all along. I've never really had an issue with the sweet apple in the Eau de Parfum and Le Parfum. I will admit that sometimes it's not my first choice when it's super hot outside. I just wear something else. But this one has provided another level of versatility and kind of a pleasing nature that maybe I was missing from those others. And I don't know, it's been working really well with me. Eau de Parfum Intense, it's a great performer, still going to be a great mass pleasing scent, great quality out of this one, everything you would expect from YSL. I really like it. I figured I'd lump these two together. I would also be grabbing another new release, and this one comes as no surprise. It's Aqua de Joe Parfum. And so, of course, being that this DNA is one of my all-time favorites ever, I would not hesitate to get this back into my life. And knowing me, knowing I love, collecting just stuff, apparently, I would go online and I would be hunting down bottles of Profumo and buying it up like crazy, like I've done over the years, and amassed a collection of, I think, close to 10 bottles of Aqua de Joe Profumo. It's absurd, right? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, probably, but I have them. And this was years back before it being discontinued was even a thought, right? And I was buying it up because I knew one day it could happen, and sure enough, it did. Luckily, they are just switching it over to this bottle here, the Parfum, and they've changed it slightly. They didn't ruin it. In fact, they might have improved upon the DNA. I have to give credit where credit's due. It's smoother off the top. Instead of the incense patchouli combo, there's like an olibanum patchouli going on in here in the base and the dry down. So it's, you know, a nice little tweak of the scent DNA, I think, for better. And so it's cool, but I would definitely be grabbing a bottle of this and wearing it as much as I could as soon as I get it back in my collection. I love this stuff. Even throughout wintertime often, I'll wear Acqua di Gio Profumo. If I'm kind of wanting some freshness to switch things up, if I've been wearing a bunch of heavy sweet stuff, I'll throw on Profumo because it has that incense patchouli. And of course, you can do the same with the new Parfum as well. It's going to provide a similar thing. I would definitely be grabbing some Elysium by Roja. It's one of my favorites from the brand, one of my favorites just in the niche kind of category. You know, it's, I guess their, you know, flavor interpretation of a blue scent essentially, but it's heavily focused on citrus. A lot of citrus, some fruity notes, and a very healthy amount of vetiver. And so I would have to get it. Now, you know, of course, I'm going to have to buy up some Enigma at some point or Creation E. I would have to get, you know, I really like Scandal a lot. I have a lot of Rojas. It's one of my favorite niche brands. Purchased the bulk majority of them by myself, although they have sent me some for free, which is always appreciated. I've just had a really good track record with them. It seems like pretty much everything they put out I really like. And so Elysium is what started it for me. It was my first like really high-end niche purchase. You know, I bought some Creeds up to that point, and I had purchased some Manceras, of course, but for me, Roja was kind of that next step up, and so I started it with Elysium. From there, it's expanded more, but I would have to go back to this and get it and wear it. I love this stuff in the summertime, and it's one that I can't live without. A lot of great memories tied up into this DNA, and I would definitely be grabbing it. There's some clones out there that I would consider grabbing first as well if I wanted to lighten the load, so to speak, of buying a bunch of expensive stuff all at once, but, you know, I would have to get something that smells like this in my collection. And when I was kind of combing through everything here and figuring out what I wanted to put into this video, I knew it wouldn't be complete without a Chanel. And when you look at this, you kind of see that for the most part, all of the really big designer brands are covered. Dior, YSL, Chanel coming up next, and you know, Dolce & Gabbana, so on. There's so many out there, but I'm kind of covering all my bases there. And from Chanel, you know, I would probably grab this one first. It would be Allure Homme Sport Extreme, which maybe is a surprise to you, maybe not. Bleu de Chanel Parfum would be probably next up. And of course, I would have to buy the whole Bleu de Chanel trilogy at some point, and everything else, right? It's a complete crazy rabbit hole. But starting out, I would probably go for this one. Looking back, it was either this or the regular Allure Homme Sport. One of the two was my first ever Chanel purchase. I can't remember for sure. It might have been Allure Homme Sport, and I got this one shortly after, back in the Notino days. It was one of the two, and so I would probably start there again. I love this stuff because it's a little bit dusty, powdery, and not too sweet, but it does have a nice minty freshness off the top as well. Just a great DNA, great smell. It's so versatile. You know, you can wear it for pretty much any situation, and if you wanted to, you could wear it going into winter. You could wear it spring into early summer, and indoors you can wear it just anytime. So you do pay more of a premium for this, but you also get your money's worth out of it, being that if you wanted to, you could wear it anytime you feel like, pretty much. And I think that is valuable. For me, I just love how it smells. Great stuff. And last up, I would be going for this particular scent from Givenchy. Again, you know, if I was starting over like right now in middle of September, I'm thinking forward into fall and winter time, right? When it's starting to get cold. And I would definitely need some Gentleman Eau de Parfum Reserve Privé. They're just taking that DNA and reworking it, adding some chestnut and whiskey. You know, I already have an iris scent in here, obviously DHI, but this is different because it has a booziness. It has kind of more of a different approach of a gourmand feel. Not that you would maybe consider DHI a full-on gourmand, but like it does have that kind of powdery chocolatey smell. This one has some of that too, but then the chestnut is added in and the whiskey. So it's even more of a gourmand focus on the iris DNA is kind of how I look at it. And I could not be more pleased with this. I love it, and I knew looking at the note breakdown, I was probably going to really enjoy it. But when I got it in and tried it for the first time, man, it was just instantly like, yes, this is incredible. And so I'd for sure be buying this one over again, retail, discount, or whatever. It's worth it. I paid retail for it when it first came out for this little bottle here, and I don't regret that one bit. I think it's a fair asking price for this one. I really do, and I don't say that about everything. There's a lot of designer scents out there that I would say, do not buy at retail and buy it for, half the cost at discounters, or even if you're saving $20 or $30 at discounters, still do that. But this one is so good, so polished, so refined. I'm not upset about my retail purchase. Although I would say whenever you can buy it at a discounter, I would always do that. Save the money, it makes sense. But for me, this is well worth the money, and I would be buying it back immediately. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. If I was starting over from complete scratch, but still having the knowledge that I have and still, having smelled the things that I've smelled, these are the things I would purchase to start over. And of course, there's so much more, right? It would just be out of hand crazy. And again, so many other discontinued, hard to find stuff I would be hunting down. So many other expensive niche that I would probably have to pick up at some point. But this is a good starting point of things that are available on the market right now easily that I would get first, especially being conscious of the fact that we're going into the cooler times of the year. I'll link them all down below. And for anything rare, discontinued, or hard to find, you may be looking for Dior Homme Parfum, Bleu Electrique, La Nuit de l'Homme, stuff like Pure Excess Night by Paco Rabanne. Mancera's coming in stock for $58. Just crazy good deals and prices and great restocks, which we're heading into the time of the year where that type of stuff is abundant. Get on my mailing list and texting list at the link and number down below. I'll keep you updated on everything related to that. This is the time of year, moving into Q4 where there's going to be a bunch of sales and restocks and rare, just great deals flooding the market. This is the time to do some purchasing if you have been holding out and you're wanting to add some stuff to your collection. And so I strongly recommend get on those lists, and I will get you hooked up with the best prices and the best finds. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.